it, he still hooped at a very high level. He did play on an NBA floor, wore a jersey, got to play overseas, traveled all across the world.
This describes his game right here. Some shit like this, bro. Look. This describes LiAngelo Ball's game. Like I said, doesn't take a lot of dribbles, just shoots. Very effective. Look at this shit.
Was the brother that didn't make it. He still hooped at a very high level.
Between the legs, lost the ball a little bit, got it back,
on an NBA floor.
Picked up his dribble, saw the dude, he looked to pass first, saw the dude was kind of sagging off, fuck it.
Or wore a
35-footer.
Jersey, got to play overseas, traveled all across.
It is what it is. Let the past be the past. Just know Bam gonna be good and turn up on their ass.
It's your time, it's his time, it's Bam's time. Bam's time to shine. Your time to shine too. Yes, you. Hey, check it out, man. We are back at it again with another reaction video. Let's get straight into this video. I ain't even gonna take up too much of y'all time. We have why LiAngelo Ball gave up on his basketball career. I just seen a video of him on the Injuries podcast with his brother. That was a good, that was a good one. Those were some good guests you had, Angel Reese. I tuned into that whole thing from start to finish. And they did touch up on Lonzo talking about, hey, bro, go overseas, bro. I think that's your path, yada, yada, yada. He's trying to get into the G League so he can get to the NBA. Feel me? Personally, I think go take your ass overseas. You tripping, but let's see what this video talking about, man. Let's get it.
Introducing the world to what he described as the ultimate basketball experiment. A father that raised his three boys to become basketball superstars from the day they were born. The hype really kicked off in 2016 when his three sons, Lonzo, LaMelo, and LiAngelo, played together and led 16. When his three sons... This
has to be some legendary shit as a dad. If you're a dad, you gotta, this is some legendary shit. You gotta respect it.
Lonzo, LaMelo, and LiAngelo played together and led local public school Chino Hills to an undefeated 35-0 season, winning a state championship and becoming the best team in the nation. All three brothers were considered D1 prospects and received full-ride scholarships to UCLA. Lonzo was arguably the #1 player in his class, but LaMelo was also the top-ranked player in his class and won Freshman of the Year that season. Fast forward many years later, Lonzo was the #2 pick in the draft, was arguably the most hyped draft prospect since LeBron James, and despite dealing with injuries throughout his pro career, Lonzo is a well-respected NBA starting guard. LaMelo Ball, as we talked about in this most recent video, was also a top 3 pick, and is now arguably the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. Those two combined, when his
Melo hooping right now,
will likely exceed $1 billion in NBA career earnings. But what about the middle child, LiAngelo? What happened to him and why didn't he make the NBA like it?
Now we all know what happened with the, for those that don't know, y'all probably like, oh, you about to tell the story. I mean, you should probably I'd be under a rock too, but I don't want to be that far under the rock. We all know what happened when he stole them sunglasses. He made a mistake. When I first saw it happen, I'm like, he LiAngelo Ball, like, his family good like, even put this basketball shit to the side, he good. Like, why he, but people do what they do. That's where I think, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably think that's what fucked him up. Like, it just ain't been the same since.
His brothers. The story is a lot crazier than you might think, because LiAngelo Ball was better than you think. He wasn't just riding the pine on that Chino Hills team. Jello was uniquely one of the best high school players, but not one of the best prospects. There were 3 lottery picks that played for that Chino Hills team, but Jello Ball was the leading scorer for the Chino Hills Huskies. And as the best scorer on the best team in the nation, averaging close to 35 points per game, some people argued that he should be a 5-star recruit.
That man scored 72, bro.
Doubted his abilities, and because of his size and lack of athleticism for his position, they didn't think his game would translate to the collegiate, never mind the NBA level. Regardless, Jello attended UCLA, and he joined the program in 2017 after Lonzo left for the draft to join the Lakers. LiAngelo was expected to have a bench role with the Bruins, and although he wasn't projected to be a one-and-done,
him and Jalen Hands was on the same team.
People believed that after 4 years in college, Jello could become a serviceable
NBA
player and could
even because Jalen Hands stayed 2 years or 3 years.
Though spending multiple years in college was never the plan in Big Baller's world. LeVar's objective was to get his sons to the NBA as soon as possible, and he made it very clear that regardless of what the draft board said, Jello would be one and done. Everybody was excited to see what LiAngelo could do in college. He had a promising first preseason game, scoring 11 points off the bench, but his college career was over before it even started. And LiAngelo's entire life was flipped upside down in one of the
65 on
craziest
108
stories of the year.
3 UCLA basketball players, including a younger brother of NBA rookie Lonzo Ball, have been questioned in China over shoplifting allegations.
LiAngelo got himself in trouble. Big trouble. He, along with 2 other UCLA teammates, were all over the news in every country worldwide, facing up to 10 years in prison for shoplifting in China.
But here's the thing. I'm not saying that you're supposed to, but that's what I wasn't understanding. I'm like, all right, they like, is it because they're in China? What store was they at? Like, people have got, like, let's be honest, bro. Everybody's probably stolen something before in their life. Maybe not from a store, but you've stolen something. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm just like, wait, hold on. Like, he getting up, like, is there something else they're not telling us? It's because he stole some expensive shades, China, different laws, something. Like, what's going on? Because how, bro, imagine if you were told you getting 3 to 10. Is it because of who he was? Imagine if they told you getting 3 to 10 years for stealing. How many of y'all would be out of jail right now? If it was a 3 to 10 years you was gonna get for stealing something that you know damn well you've stolen in the past, ain't nobody about to be, a lot of people ain't about to be out of jail. I'm just being real. So I'm like, wait, hold on. Why was that? Like, were they just trying to make an example out of him because he was LiAngelo Ball? You feel me? Even though it was stupid as hell for him to do it because of who he was, I didn't understand it.
The story was so big that even President Donald Trump got involved and went to meet China's leader to try and free the students. Fortunately, all 3 got off the hook and were allowed to return to the US as free men. But back home there was going to be massive consequences. LiAngelo and his teammates had to publicly apologise in the media and were suspended by the program for an entire season. You could say they got let off lightly and were lucky to not be kicked out of UCLA. But a suspension was no good to LiAngelo. He was trying to be a one and done, and LeVar wasn't going to allow his son to sit on the sidelines at the peak of his popularity when he could be playing and getting better. This led to another massive mainstream story when it was announced that LeVar would be pulling LaMelo from high school and LiAngelo would drop out of UCLA to go play professional basketball overseas in Lithuania. This decision came with massive backlash and leaving one of the most prestigious...
See, now looking at it in hindsight, okay, LaMelo did what he was supposed to do. I just hope he at least got a degree, like I said degree. His diploma, though. You don't want to not have your diploma, bro. But everything else, whatever. But the diploma and LiAngelo, I get they on some like, nah, we not about to have you not playing. I'm about to just pull you so you play overseas. Because you don't want to have a year off of basketball, bro. Unless if it's because of an injury. You don't want to not be playing basketball for a whole year, bro. A lot happens in a whole year. You get what I'm saying? You don't want that. Trust me. You don't want to have a full year of where you did not play organized basketball. All that gym shit, runs, that shit is cool. The pro runs, UCLA high, you know what I'm saying? Rico Hines runs, that shit cool. But you don't want to have, no matter what level you are at, unless if it's because you are out due to injury, you do not want to sit out a year, bro. You don't. So he's probably like, I got to get them playing something.
Playing the obscure Lithuanian Pro Basketball League was definitely a decision that raised some eyebrows. But while the narrative at the time was that the ball stint in Lithuania was a complete disaster, in hindsight that wasn't the case. For LaMelo, playing against pros at the age of 16 and struggling against what's considered low competition was actually a great learning experience from him and extremely humbling. He went from being the top guy in America, best his age, to an absolute nobody. It made him realise that if he wanted to be like Lonzo, he had a lot of work and improving to do. As for LiAngelo though, he actually played really well. Jello was a part of the rotation and averaged 12.6 points and 2.7 rebounds per game coming off the bench while shooting 42... 42% from the three-point line. He
That's
proved to
good.
be an
42%?
effective player
That's
and an
amazing.
above-average shooter in a league that's actually quite underrated.
He was a big guard who didn't really need a lot of dribbles to be effective. He just shot.
Actually on the Lithuanian national team that defeated Team USA at the World Cup in 2023. LiAngelo, who went off in that game, was actually LiAngelo's teammate and a guy he was competing with for playing time. But despite all of this, LiAngelo's performances overseas just wasn't enough. Despite scoring 73 points in a game, he went
72.
undrafted in the 2018 NBA draft. There was a possibility of him being a late second-round pick, but Jello ended up going undrafted and wasn't picked up by a G League or Summer League team. This is why people think he probably would have been better off staying at UCLA, because as somebody whose scouts weren't really paying attention to, at least if he was at UCLA playing in the United States, on television, and even possibly in March Madness.
But they, like I said, they probably just didn't want him to not play for an entire year. You get what I'm saying? Because, yeah, keep him at UCLA, but he would have been on the bench. And they bring people, not on the bench, he wouldn't have been playing at all. Then they recruiting people in. You don't know what they bringing people in every year. You don't know what would happen when the next year. His spot probably wasn't guaranteed anymore. Even though he's LiAngelo Ball, I guess that's why. Because this whole leaving, because like I said, for LaMelo it kind of worked out, but for LiAngelo, shit, it didn't. So maybe staying in school would have been best. But then again, I still stand by, you don't want to have a whole year where you're not playing basketball, bro. You don't want to do that.
Madness, he may have had a stronger case to get drafted. As an alternative to playing in NBA Summer League, LiAngelo then joined the Los Angeles Ballers in the JBA League, a newly formed basketball league that was created by guess who? LeVar Ball and the Big Baller brand. At the time of joining the JBA, LaMelo was playing with the LA Ballers, and they were struggling with a 2-2 record. LiAngelo came in and changed everything. He averaged an insane 50 points per game, was MVP of the regular season, and led the Ballers to...
He did not average no fucking 50 points per game, bro. Why? See, when I look at certain videos, bro, I be trying to make sure that they're credible. Let me look that up right now. This is real time, y'all. He did not average no goddamn... What is this called? JBL? I don't know if I could even look that up for real, but I know he averaged no goddamn 50 points per game. I don't think I can look up the... I don't know.
The first and only JBA championship title. LiAngelo bested his brother to win finals MVP. At the end of the JBA season, they handpicked the best players from the league to go tour overseas and play professional teams. And while touring, they did face some decent competition. They went up against several former D1 and former NBA guys. When facing the London Lions, Jello impressed so much that the team actually tried to sign him. Now this would have been a great move for Jello. He would have been a star in the growing British Basketball League, and for the Big Baller brand and reality TV show, it would have been a match made in heaven. LiAngelo rejected this offer and was instead focused on trying to make a G League team. But because...
That's where Lonzo was talking about. He said, bro, the NBA, that shit not happening. Fuck with this. And then get a resume, then maybe you can get over here. You get what I'm saying?
Because he was overseas touring with the JBA, he missed the G League Open tryouts. So the 2018-19 season was pretty much a wasted one for LiAngelo, as he didn't play competitive basketball anywhere. And now this is where taking him out of UCLA looks like a massive mistake. He left UCLA...
When I react to the... I always try... Man, let me...
to go play overseas, didn't get drafted and ended up not playing afterwards because he had nowhere to go. But if you think there weren't more twists to LiAngelo's tale, you have no idea what you're in for next. So LiAngelo took a year off to rehab on his ankle, something that had been bothering him since high school, that he'd always just continued to play through anyway. And just when it seemed like any chance of making the NBA was gone, Jello finally got his big break. He got an opportunity to practice with the OKC Thunder's G League team, and impressed them enough to sign him to the G League for the remainder of the 2019-20 season. Finally, after almost 2 years of not playing basketball, in March of 2020, Jello was finally about to return to the court. And this is one of many instances where LiAngelo became the most unlucky player in basketball. Because the same day he was supposed to make his debut with the OKC Blue, the entire NBA was shut down due to the pandemic.
Damn.
Breaking news at this hour, the NBA suspending the rest of the season because of the coronavirus.
So Jello, who was supposed to have the opportunity to play a G League season, had that taken away from him without touching the court once. So Jello's contract expired without him playing a game. To make things even worse, Jello was supposed to be a part of that Thunder Summer League team, but unfortunately, again, because of the pandemic, Summer League was cancelled too. Now, while the bubble was going on, it was the off-season for pretty much everyone outside the NBA, and Jello's brother LaMelo was preparing for the draft. He'd left Australia's NBL at this point, and his trainer Jermaine Jackson, a Detroit Mercy legend who played with the Pistons in the early 2000s, had LaMelo train and work out in his hometown. So it made sense for LiAngelo to join them, and this led to a lucky break for Jello. The Detroit Pistons were short on numbers at training camp, and with travel not being as accessible at the time, Jermaine Jackson used his contacts within the Pistons organization and was able to get Jello a training camp invite with the Detroit Pistons. It made sense for them as Jello was already in Detroit, so they signed him to a 1-year non-guaranteed contract, and everyone was expecting to see Jello ball in the NBA for the first time during preseason. However, in 4 preseason games, Jello didn't play a single minute, and along with the other training camp bodies, was cut from the team without having the chance to prove what he could do on the court. The good news was that Jello was guaranteed a spot on the Pistons G League team. But just when you think Jello couldn't get any more unlucky, he got more unlucky. Because of restrictions due to the pandemic, the G League wasn't functioning as normal. And of course the Pistons G League team were one of the teams that chose to opt out.
We've got passion, we've got determination, and if we set our sights on something, you better believe it's happening.
For the 2020-21 season. So Jello had a G League deal, but his team withdrew from the G League. Typical, right? So because of that, Jello missed yet another year of development not playing basketball. He put his name in the G League draft, signed a contract to be eligible for the G League bubble, but ended up going undrafted in what was a smaller G League draft than usual. Jello did have another opportunity overseas though, but what we didn't know at the time was LiAngelo actually had something in the works. He was secretly seen working out with the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo had brought him along to practice. For at first was just casual workouts, but next thing you know, Jello was participating in scrimmages where he impressed the Hornets so much that he got invited to Summer League tryouts, and LiAngelo was able to make the team, and finally, 3 years after going undrafted, he was going to get his opportunity to play against NBA players in Vegas for Summer League. In his very first game against NBA caliber guys, he looked like he belonged in the NBA this whole time.
Caldwell Jones.
Look ahead, so LiAngelo ball gathers himself and knocks down the 3.
He don't need much room, bro. He just let it go. Like, he don't need many dribbles. He just pop. Not even no dribbles. Just catch and shoot. Like, literally catch and shoot. Take dribbles when he need to, like our Carmelo type of game. But, again, so now they're kind of backtracking on what I said. Maybe staying in college would have been better just for the simple fact of seeing when people leave that college shit and then go somewhere else, or it just doesn't work out for them. It just doesn't work out for them, bro. It's too many stories, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, like, I know from sitting out a year of not playing because he was suspended from the team. He couldn't play that year. It wasn't like he suspended a couple games. He was suspended from the team, period, like for the rest of that year. And he only played, like, it wasn't that many games. He barely played. Like, the season just started. You know what I'm saying? So when that happened, they're like, oh yeah, he's suspended for the rest of the year. Dad, like, I ain't finna have my son not play. All right, we're going to go play overseas then. We're going to go do this, do that. You know, you played against pros here anyway, yada, 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 whatever. So they probably thought they were doing the best possible thing. But I see both. Like, I'm trying to really just say one answer. But I kind of see both. Like I said, you don't want him to not play for an entire year of organized basketball. You don't want that. But then again, if you stayed in college, you know, you never know what could have happened. You could have just been there, you know, paying attention, see what was going on. But at the same time, they're recruiting right behind you. This college shit is a business. Feel me? So it could have went either way. What y'all think? He should have stayed in college, or do y'all think that him leaving was the right thing? Clearly, him leaving wasn't the right thing because he's not playing no. He could go play overseas, but he wanted to play in the NBA. I don't know. I'm talking too much. Damn.
LiAngelo dropped 16 points in his Summer League debut with LeVar and LaMelo both in attendance watching.
Good.
It was a statement performance from the middle ball brother, one that caught the attention of the basketball world. He looked like the type of sharpshooter that every NBA team needs. He played in another 4 games in NBA Summer League, averaged 9.6 points while shooting close to 40% from three-point range.
That's
he also
good.
hit this crazy half-court shot.
0.6 seconds. Oh, he got it at the buzzer. That's what I'm talking about.
After Summer League, there was a lot of speculation as to whether or not Jello would sign
Look where
with
he
the
caught it and
Hornets
shot
or
it
even
from.
join another NBA team. Unfortunately, he just missed out on the cut for training camp, but was signed to an Exhibit 10 contract and then drafted by the Greensboro Swarm in the first round of the G League draft. The idea was always for LiAngelo to eventually join the Hornets and play with his brother, but before that, Jello would have to earn his stripes in the G League. Right away, it looked like Jello belonged. In his first G League game coming off the bench, Jello Ball stood out, dropping 22 points against the Birmingham Squadron.
The G League is probably hard to even play in because you just playing to get a spot, bro. It ain't even on no winning shit, bro. You playing to try to get you to the next level. You know, everybody just trying to get to the next level for everybody there, bro. Literally is just trying to get to the next level. So I can only imagine how hard it is probably trying to play in that and playing the right way because everybody just trying to get to the next level.
Ball drops it off to McGriff. Kick it out to Kubaka. 3 spun out. Ball on the offensive glass. There's 4-on-1 break. Ball goes in. Layup is good. Pretty pass. And corner to Lewis. Lewis will drive. Skip pass. Extra one to Ball. He lines up a 3 and it's good.
Damn, 107, 122.
Ball will try a quick 3 and that's good.
He followed that up with 18 points in his next game. And to this point, it seemed like only
This moment of mindfulness is brought to you by Nurtec ODT.
a matter of time before Jello would be starting in the G League, and his call-up to the Hornets felt inevitable. Despite performing so well to start the season, after these 2 performances, Jello was completely dropped out of the lineup and went several games without playing again. From that point forward, Jello had a small role with the team. For anybody who
Playing
followed
at
the
13.
Greensboro Swarm
13
that
is,
season,
bro, one of the
they knew
best J's to
something
hoop
strange
in.
was going on with LiAngelo Ball.
I played a game, had like close to 30, had 28 or something, and then I sat out like 10 games right after.
He finished his rookie season in the G League, averaging 5.6 points, 1.4 rebounds, shooting 46% from the field and 41% from three-point range. At the end of the season, he returned to Vegas for Summer League, but unfortunately, in the training camp leading up to the tournament, Jello was sent into health and safety protocols. He wasn't able to practice or train with the team and ended up missing the opening weekend in Vegas, and that basically messed up 2022 Summer League for him. He'd been inactive, not trained and practiced, and didn't have much of a role at all. But Jello's patience finally paid off, and he finally got his NBA gig just a few months later. By this point, going into year 3, LaMelo had established himself as the undisputed main man in Charlotte, and Jello finally got his chance. He was invited to training camp and a part of the Hornets team in preseason. LeVar would finally get to see his dream fulfilled of seeing his sons play together on the same team in the NBA. Unfortunately though, Melo and Jello never shared the court together in preseason, but LiAngelo did play, just not on the court with his brother. He made his debut against the Boston Celtics, and things didn't go too well. Jello featured in 3 preseason games, mostly playing in garbage time, and he wasn't able to make an impact. In the time he did get, he averaged 4.7 points per game. In fairness, he only played a total of 14 minutes, so he didn't really get much of a chance at all. But that's the brutal reality for these undrafted players trying to make the NBA. Your entire life's work can come down to what you do in those precious few minutes you get. LiAngelo was cut by the Hornets, but did return to the Greensboro Swarm for the next G League season, hoping to perform well and get called up. That season, he actually set a career-high 26 points in one of the best games we've seen Jello play since turning pro.
LiAngelo Ball with 8 first-half points, entered with just 7 scored all season, and adding 3 more
You blasting them.
Ball with 3 more.
Nonetheless, highlight play. Pretty sure G League got that dunk up somewhere, probably on Twitter and all that stuff. On his extension with his three-point shooting in particular, like he was almost short-arming it this year, showing his form, putting his hands.
They destroy. It's like they up by like
This was just
100 points.
Jello's sophomore season was disappointing. He played just 14 times and put up 5.6 points, 1.2 rebounds on 36% shooting from the field
Damn.
and 33% shooting from three-point range. At the end of the season, Jello decided on his own accord to part ways with the Greensboro Swarm and leave the Hornets organization entirely. Now at this point, he still had pro aspirations. He wanted to stay in the G League and try and find a team. But leaving the Hornets was a big mistake. Other NBA teams simply weren't as incentivized to sign him the way the Hornets were, and if Jello was patient, especially with the way LaMelo's playing now...
See, this is this is the problem. When you waiting on a call-up, right, instead of going where you're wanted, you got to understand the clock is ticking. You get what I'm saying? He's 22, 23 now. Well, obviously he's older now, but he's like 25, 26 right now. But at this time, he's 22, 23. Had you just kind of said, you know, I'm going to stay overseas because, you know, people were fucking with me, whatever, things probably would have went out different for you. You probably, I don't know if you're going to get to the league, but things would have went out different for you. Because now, you barely playing. And when you barely playing, you ain't getting no resume to show these people that you can even play in the NBA. And on top of that, now you playing in the Drew leagues and shit. Like, you could have just stayed playing pro basketball overseas. That's what he could have still been doing. But right now, he got a second kid coming. LiAngelo Ball, bro, he done with basketball. Like, I'm just gonna say that right now. He's done with basketball. Like I said, great talent. Good, bro, he doesn't need like much he give him a little bit of airspace. That's all he need. He don't need it, like, as far as scoring the ball, you know what I'm saying? Catch and shoot, no wasted movements, no extra bop, tween, none of that. No wasted energy with him. But as of right now, he should have just stayed. He should have went overseas because that's where he was wanted. He said he had deals overseas, but he's trying to get into the G League. Why are you trying to go? That's like trying to go impress the girl that is made it clear as day that she don't want you. You doing all this shit, you grinding extra hard, you trying to get more buff, more your physique up, more your money up, just to go impress the girl that already made it clear as day that she don't want you, versus the girl that look decent, good head on her shoulders, mindset up here is right, that wants you, but you trying to go for what you want versus what wants you, versus what's loving you back. This nigga should have just stayed over. Man, he should have just stayed overseas. You know? Or if not, like, I don't know. I was saying he could have just leaving school. I get it, just for the simple fact his dad probably don't want him to sit out an entire year. But at the same time, it looks like that messed him up. And maybe if he stayed at UCLA, I know y'all probably think I'm backtracking, can't really just say what I really want to say. I'm just saying I see both sides to it. If he leaves UCLA, there's a great chance you can mess up your draft stock, because your draft stock's already messed up with this stealing shit. But if you were to dominate in college, you're going to be able to, you know, get your name out there now. But at the same time, they are recruiting right behind you. You don't know if you'll be able to dominate by the next year. You know? But we also don't want you to miss out a year. So, you know, we're going to have you go play with these pros. It worked for one son. Let's see if it could work for you. And it didn't work for him.
The way the Hornets were, and if Jello was patient, especially with the way LaMelo's playing now, with new ownership, coaching staff, and big changes from top to bottom in Charlotte, maybe now Melo would have enough pull within the organization to get Jello on the main team. No team signed LiAngelo for Summer League in 2023.
LaMelo don't got enough.
He didn't get picked up by a
he don't got enough juice to do
like that. But early 2024, he shocked some people and returned to basketball, signing with a pro team in Mexico called Astros de la Jalisco. But once again, this was short-lived. Jello, after just 2 preseason games, left the team to return to the States to rehab on his ankle, which since high school has constantly been bothering him. It's crazy to say this, but LiAngelo is actually probably the most injury-prone out of all the Ball brothers. He can just never catch a break. As for now, LiAngelo seems to have given up on his NBA dream. I've watched several episodes of the podcast he does with Lonzo and his trainer Demo, and although sometimes he sounds optimistic about his chances, I've often noticed he speaks about the NBA as if that ship has sailed. And although he loves basketball, because of who he is and the fact that he's now a father of 2 children, at 25 years old I just don't think he's willing to go overseas and to leave the life he has in the USA behind. It's almost like he
wouldn't.
basketball
Fuck that.
when he was in the NBA, but he'd rather do what he's doing right now than go overseas. Overall though, I do think LiAngelo Ball in an alternate universe could have played in the NBA. He's capable of holding his own against top level guys, but I think the main thing that cost Jello was that he didn't play enough basketball from high school onwards. In the 7 years since leaving UCLA,
If you're living with severe alopecia areata,
apart from that first year where he played in Lithuania in the JBA League, he's hardly played at all. 50 total G League games playing under 20 minutes a night, couple Summer League and preseason cameos, and that's about it. And looking back, had he played all 4 years at UCLA, then gone undrafted, spent 2 years in the G League, things might have been different. Maybe.
Yes, you know, and like I said already, I'm gonna keep on saying it. I see the logic on we don't want you to have an entire year off from basketball because a lot could change in a year. They're recruiting right behind you. We don't want you to not be playing organized basketball for an entire year. I see that logic, which is why I kind of see why they took him and made him go play overseas. Because you're playing pro, like they weren't. It wasn't these fake ass pro teams that call themselves pros when they're not even pros. But I think that was just something that they were thinking, you know. But yeah, had he stayed in college and then did like the process, because you would have played a lot of basketball. Even if you weren't the man at UCLA, you still would have played a lot of basketball. Plus these 2 years in the G League, you know, his chances would be way better now. But basketball, he done. He got a kid on the way. He done.
Be right now around 25 years old, entering the prime years of his career, he'd have developed to a point where he could get called up and be a serviceable role player. But because he's essentially missed out on 5 to 6 full seasons where he could have been playing competitive basketball at the collegiate or G League level, it's almost impossible to expect to be able to just plug that guy into the NBA and expect him to belong. Ultimately, I think with Jello, there are several reasons why he didn't make the NBA. You can simplify it by just saying he wasn't good enough, but I think there's more to it than that. I always believed that LiAngelo's ceiling was that he could be a high IQ role player and a 3-point specialist in the NBA. That was always the best case scenario for LiAngelo. Now maybe even if he reached his full potential as a basketball player, he still might not have made it. We see now more than ever so many talented guys having to leave the NBA and go overseas because the standard of the league is so high. But nepotism is a real thing in the NBA. We saw it with Thanasis and we're seeing it now with Bronny. And whether or not Jello would have been 100% worthy, that would have played in his favour, and I do think had he reached his full potential, he'd have been good enough where you can at least justify having him on the back end of the roster, especially the Hornets because of LaMelo and his status within the organisation.
Hornets ain't even good, bro. They could damn near use LiAngelo. Shit.
But LiAngelo didn't reach his full potential as a basketball player, and I think the main things that cost him were career decisions. Too many times along the way he made the wrong decision. Leaving UCLA was obviously the big one, but JBA over G League tryouts, not going overseas and waiting for calls that never came, leaving the Hornets organisation to play elsewhere with no guaranteed offers on the table, Jello definitely made some poor decisions along the way, and on top of those decisions, he also endured some difficult setbacks at critical points of his development too, most of which were out with his control, like the pandemic, which cost him 2 seasons of G League basketball in OKC and Detroit, and then the constant injuries he could never seem to avoid. At this point it's too late, and unfortunately while people may remember Jello as the brother that didn't make it, he still hooped at a very high level, he did play on an NBA floor, wore a jersey, got to play overseas, travelled all across the world.
This describes his game right here. Some shit like this, bro. Look. This describes LiAngelo Ball's game. Like I said, doesn't take a lot of dribbles, just shoots. Very effective. Look at this shit.
Jello is the brother that didn't make it. He still hooped at a very high level.
Between the legs, lost the ball a little bit, got it back,
on an NBA floor.
Picked up his dribble, saw the dude, he looked to pass first, saw the dude was kind of sagging off, fuck it.
Or wore a
35-footer.
Jersey, got to play overseas, travelled all across the world while being a celebrity within the culture and a part of one of the greatest high school basketball teams of all time. And although
like you could really go
in the culture and a part of one
triple-double machine in high school. 23, 13, and 15. 19, 18, and 17. Whatever. Scorer, facilitator, rebounder, defender, all that. 92 points. I still don't know how. Then 72 points. His 72 points look better than this man, than his little brother's 92 points. 100%. You could go from that to not playing much of pro basketball. That shit is crazy how this shit works for real.
One of the greatest high school basketball teams of all time. And although, yes, he never fulfilled his dream, all three brothers didn't team up and dominate the NBA like they did in high school. But
shit, he still got money though. Look like he's still doing his thing. But my camera's about to die, so y'all know what I gotta go. Rest in peace to Kari, X, my grandma, both our grandmas, and I'm gone.